Okay, so who did their homework? Okay, Shivani, you start. First of all, read off what the homework is. Read what the homework is. Learn the carbon cycle, yes. That was one of the homeworks, yeah. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. There were three main things that we had to do. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, my dad previously he made a slide on the carbon cycle.
Yeah.
So I'm just reading from that. So, there's this verse in Srimad Bhagvatam 3.26.49. I'm not gonna read the verse, but I'll read the translation. Since the cause exists in its effect.
3.26.29, right?
Yeah. 3.26.29 49. Since the cause exists in its effect as well, the characteristics of the former are observed in the latter. That is why the peculiarities of all the elements exist in the earth alone. And then the purport says...
Okay, read that again, slower and louder.
Sorry.
Since the
cause exists in its effects as well. Since the cause exists in its effects as well, the characteristics of the former are observed in...
We have to what?
The characteristics of the former are observed in the latter.
Latter.
That
means you can see the evidence of the original cause in the effect. Okay.
That is why the peculiarities of all the elements exists in the earth alone.
The peculiarities of
all the elements.
All the elements, okay.
Exist in the earth alone.
Yes.
And purport says...
So that means there's in the earth, there's water, and there's fire, and there's air, and there's space, right?
Yeah. Sound is the cause of the sky. Sky is the cause of the air. Air is the cause of fire. Fire is the cause of water. And water is the cause of earth.
So sound is the cause of sky. Sky is the cause of what? Air. Air is the cause of water.
Fire.
Huh? Fire. I'm
air
sorry.
Is the cause of fire.
Fire is the cause of water.
Yeah. And water is the cause of earth.
Earth. Okay.
In the sky, there is only sound. In the air, there are sound and touch. In the fire, there are sound, touch, and form. In water, there are sound, touch, form, and taste. And in the earth, there are sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Therefore, earth is a reservoir of all the qualities of the other elements. Earth is the sum total of all the other elements. Of all other elements. The earth has all five qualities of the earth has all five qualities of the elements. Water has 4 qualities, fire has 3, air has 2, and sky has only 1 quality, sound. And then the next verse is by Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, and then it's 25.125. And the translation says
25.1.5?
25.125.
0.1. So 25.1.25? Oh no, you said Madhya Lila 25.125.
Yes. And the translation says, the 5 material elements are existing inside and outside of every living entity. Similarly, I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, am manifest within the heart of the devotee as well as his body. The purport says, the pure devotee knows that he is a servant of Krishna eternally. He knows that everything can be used in the service of the Lord. Next is Bhagavad Gita 7.4, and it says, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, all together, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. And the purport says, human body is made up of 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and 3 subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego. About 18% of the human body is made of carbon, which is an element that comes from earth. So based on this verse, our body contains carbon, which is an element of the earth, and earth is one of Krishna's material energies. Okay. Next is cause of creation of material universe from Shastras. I don't know. Wait, sorry. This is not about the carbons. Yeah. Okay. Understanding carbon. So carbon is an element found in earth, plants, humans, and animals. What is carbon? Carbon is a chemical element and is the backbone of life on earth. Carbon gets its name from the Latin word carbo, which means coal. Carbon is a non-metal that has the following common forms: diamond, a very hard form of carbon; graphite, which is a very soft form of carbon. Graphite is what we use in like pencils. Charcoal, soot, and coal. Carbon is the fourth.
Soot.
Okay, soot.
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 Not suit.
Sorry. Carbon is the 4th most abundant element in the universe. Carbon is also a part of the ocean, air, and even rocks. Carbon in nature is found in 3 forms: diamond, graphite, and fullernes.
And what?
Fullerenes.
Fullerness.
Fullernes. A fullernes is a molecule of carbon in the form of a hollow sphere, ellipsoid, tube, and many other shapes. In the atmosphere, carbon combines with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Plants use carbon dioxide and sunlight to make their own food and grow.
And what?
And make their own food and grow.
They use carbon and?
Oxygen, carbon dioxide. Most of the Earth's carbon is stored in rocks. All living things are made up of carbon. We are about half. Okay, I'm just gonna skip that. Carbon in daily life. Diamond, used in jewelry and for industrial purposes. Amorphous carbon, used in inks, paints, and batteries. Also used for blacking rubber tires. Graphite is a mineral consisting of carbon. Graphite is used in pencils. Carbon dating. Scientists use a rare form of carbon called carbon-14 to measure the age of fossils, bones, etc. Charcoal, used as fuel, produces more heat and less smoke than wood. Activated charcoal, used in water, purifies gas, masks, and for kidney dialysis. Coal, which is a mineral used in power generation, steel production, alumina refineries. Yes, refineries, paper manufacturers, chemical and...
Okay, all that is information. It's good, but it doesn't explain the carbon cycle. Get to the cycle.
Okay. Okay, the carbon cycle. So there's like a diagram, and it starts from the sun, and then like the plants do their photosynthesis thing, and then the plants attain carbon, and then it goes into the soil, and then it's okay. I can just show you.
No. You have to explain it. Okay,
Oh.
it begins from the sun.
Yeah.
The plants capture the energy of the sun by photosynthesis. And what happens now?
Okay. It says then it goes into the soil, and then it decays from decomposers.
Okay, what happens is, what goes into the soil?
The carbon.
I know, but where does it come from?
The trees.
Leaves,
Oh, sorry, leaves.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it says it decays by
So
decomposers.
the photosynthesis is to get the energy to do things, right? You need to, like, get your car working, you have to have energy, right? The car can be there, but if you don't have the source of energy, nothing happens, right? So photosynthesis is to capture the energy of the sun, okay, and then to make what's called glucose. Is that in there?
It's not in here.
Okay. Anyway, carbon is in the earth because bodies die, leaves fall, trees fall, right? There are rocks. So there's plenty of carbon in the earth. Just like you said, carbon is the most abundant element in the earth, right? Our body is 18% carbon, but there's a lot more carbon in the earth, right? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I found a better cycle. It says, so plants breathe in CO2 and then breathe out oxygen.
Okay, so now, besides photosynthesis, plants also extract CO2, carbon dioxide, from the air.
Yeah.
Carbon dioxide is what we exhale, right?
Yeah.
And then what? And then it
And breathes out oxygen.
and breathes oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we live.
Yeah.
Because we breathe out carbon dioxide, and plants breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out
Oxygen.
oxygen. Okay. So
Mm.
this is called a symbiotic relationship. That is a relationship between two things that help each other. Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you write that word down? S-Y-M-B-I-O-T-I-C. Let's look it up on the dictionary. What is that? What does it say? S-Y-M-B-I-O-T-I-C. Symbiotic. S-Y-M-B-I-O-T-I-C. What's it say?
Involving interaction between two different organisms living in close physical association.
Any more definitions?
Denoting a mutually beneficial relationship between different people or groups.
Yeah. Two things that interact and help each other. Right? So you exhale carbon dioxide, plant inhales carbon dioxide, exhales oxygen. See? So it's mutually beneficial for human beings and for plants. Go ahead.
And this process is called photosynthesis, where sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water produces glucose, which
So
is
what happens? Sunlight?
It says sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water produced glucose, which is used by plants to grow.
Produces what?
Glucose,
Glucose,
which is used by plants to grow. Okay. And then, so carbon dioxide release. Carbon dioxide is released when fossil fuels are burned, and then by decomposition, bacteria breaks down organic matter into carbon dioxide and methane.
Okay, so read that again.
So by
carbon dioxide
Mhm.
is released when?
Fossil fuels are burned.
That means oil.
Yeah.
Oil, gas, all those things.
And then by decomposition, bacteria breaks down organic matter into carbon dioxide and methane.
Bacteria breaks down what?
To organic matter. Into organic matter.
Breaks down what?
Breaks down the carbon.
Breaks down carbon too?
Or breaks down, by decomposition, bacteria breaks down organic matter into carbon dioxide and methane.
Okay.
So, okay, I'm trying to see this. Decomposition is a decomposition is a process by which organic substances are broken down into a more simple organic matter. The process is essential for recycling the finite matter that occupies physical space in the biosphere. This is from Wikipedia.
Okay, that's it?
There's a little bit more. So, in this diagram, it's like there's like a cloud and then rain falling from it, and it says, and there's a picture of the soil, and it says plants die and decay and are eaten by bacteria. Okay. And then underneath that, it says plants die, decay, and decompose. Animals and humans eat plants for energy. The excretion and dead bodies also decompose. It's just like showing what all decomposes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all for the carbon cycle, but then there's like more information on the carbon cycle. Do you want me to read that, or is that okay?
Well, if we can just understand this part of it, it's enough for today.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else do their homework? Yes, Arush. You're next, Augustine.
The question was to explain what is
Wait a minute. Go slower and louder.
So the first question was explain what is the carbon cycle of nature. So Krishna has many cycles, and the carbon cycle is a process where the sun gives light to the tree, which lets us and animals breathe, and then we give back carbon dioxide to the atmosphere and the trees breathe out oxygen so we can breathe. And then...
Okay, what's that called? A symbiotic relationship. It means two things are interrelated and both are benefited from it. So you exhale carbon dioxide, plants inhale carbon dioxide, exhale oxygen. Okay? And these are cycles created by Krishna, not by men, right? And there are many cycles. Carbon cycle is only one. There's a nitrogen cycle, there's the phosphorus cycle, there's the water cycle, there's the wind cycle. There is many other cycles also. And what happens is that these cycles maintain the balance of nature. So if you understand this, then you'll understand that this whole theory of the world's going to come to an end because of too much carbon in the air due to fossil fuels burning and due to cows burping and things like that. It's a bunch of nonsense. It's not true. because Krishna made nature in such a way with these cycles that everything can be recycled and purified, and it's going on a continual basis. Go ahead.
So then life, death, decay occurs.
What?
Life, death, decay occurs.
Life decays.
Yeah, life decays, and then that makes fossil fuels, which is used in like factories, which gives carbon dioxide to the atmosphere.
Okay, so what happens is you have a tree, right? So in the fall, the leaves fall down from the tree, and they compost. Compost means there are bacterias and funguses and different things in the earth, and they start basically eating or digesting the leaves, dead bodies, and any other organic matter, right? Okay, after the opening deities, we'll continue.
So many stuff. Yeah, sure. Oh.
You know the order who to say Jai, right?
Jaya, and then Jaya Radha Madhav, and then tell me which ones to say. This mic isn't even on. Tulsi, this mic isn't on. Yeah.
Are you singing?
Yeah. Here.
Here?
Yeah.
How am I gonna flip?
Right there.
This move is here.
Okay.
Whatever.
It's fine. It's fine. What are you doing? Okay, leave it like that.
It is. No.
It is not.
I don't keep it.
page. Yeah.
Seriously,
There were many prayers. And don't sing too loudly. First is
and then no, don't you sing Jai Jagannatha, Jai Jagannatha, Deva Jai Subhadra.
you can sing however you want to. But in the end, no, we do need to go to Harivilas, okay? What?
What do you mean the end part?
Okay, the prayers today.
What prayers? Those
I'm going to be doing
things.
them because they suck. Suck terribly.
Okay, let me read it. I don't. Yashomati Nandana Brajaparana.
The songbook. Key J. No, I have one here. No, I tried.
Okay, yeah.
Should I put it higher or something? No, let it go. Don't sing too loud.
Yashomati Nandana Brajaparana Kara Gokula Ranjana Kana.
Yashomati Nandana Brajaparana Kara
Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vidana Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bora Bamsi Badana Suvasa Brajajana Palana Surakulana Sana Nanda Godana Rakoala Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Ramuna Tattachara Gopi Basanahara Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Nattabara Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Yashomati Nandana Brajabarana Kara Gokula Ranjana Kana Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. I can't cough in the mic. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gaurani Tai, Jaya Gaurani Tai, Jaya Gaurani Tai, Jaya Gaurani Tai. Wait, and then Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. What was I supposed to say? I don't know.
Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parijakacharya Astotarashata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parijakacharya Astotarashata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki. Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Sakar Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Sadhguru Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki. ISKCON Vartamana Guru Vrinda Ki. Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada Ki.
So you have it on? Okay. Now, Arush, I want you to speak slower and louder. Go ahead. Go ahead.
On the second question.
So the second question was explain what is NPK.
Louder, louder.
Explain what is NPK fertilizer.
Yes.
So NPK stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium.
Potassium. Yeah.
Potassium. The three nutrients that compose complete fertilizers.
No, it's not true that they're complete, but they're it's fertilizer. Yeah. Go ahead. It's only 3 elements. If you have compost, it has 90 elements in it. But those 3 are 3 important ones for making fruits and vegetables look nice. But because they only use those 3, the fruits and vegetables are nutritionally depleted. Nutritionally, let's say, lacking nutrition. That's why you can eat a lot and still be hungry, because your body doesn't get all the vitamins and minerals that it needs. Go ahead.
So on the internet it said a small dose of NPK fertilizer is non-toxic, but a lot can kill the balance of nature in various ways.
Well, you see, because nature is not 3 elements in large quantities. Nature is 90, 100, 110 elements, and most of them in very small quantities, but each element works in a complementary way with the other elements. And then the plant doesn't need a huge amount of one thing. It needs a little bit of all of those, you see. So like if you put too much salt in the sabji, can you eat it? Well, you can, but it's not nice, and it's not good for your health, you see. So when they make NPK fertilizer, they have to be very careful with it, because if they overdose it, it'll have a negative effect on the plants and the crops. And this is the problem with these like supplements and fertilizers and injections and serums and things like that. If you make a little mistake and overdose, you can kill somebody. Right. Go ahead.
It also said that the NPK fertilizer helps plant growth and development. It also encourages the growth of the roots.
Of what?
The roots.
What?
The roots.
Okay. All right.
And then the third question was read verses Bhagavad Gita 3.11 and Bhagavad Gita 3.15.
See what happened? Let me explain. We studied the Dust Bowl, right? Everybody knows what the Dust Bowl is? Well, their solution for the Dust Bowl was to produce NPK fertilizer. I said for like from like the 1890s to 1930s, that's 40 years, that's 40 harvests. They just kept planting and harvesting, planting and harvesting. They didn't put anything back into the ground. So the topsoil got depleted, and you ended up with dust and rocks. And it created the Dust Bowl. You know, for years there was these huge dust storms, and people had to move away from the farms because you would choke on the dust. And the dust storms were so big, they went to the east coast of the United States, like Washington and Baltimore and New York and all these places, and it caused a lot of problems. So they realized that the mistake they made was they were taking out of the earth, out of the topsoil, not putting anything back. So then the scientists and the big companies, they started making this NPK fertilizer, put something back. So over time, that sort of seemed to solve the problem, because now they started getting harvests again. But now they had to buy the fertilizer, right? But then they noticed that what they were growing did not have a lot of nutrition in it, like it did when they grew on that topsoil in the Midwest that had been developed over hundreds and thousands of years with the buffaloes pooping and so forth. It was very rich, and the crops were coming were very good, and they were nutritionally dense. But now, with the NPK, everything looked good, but they were nutritionally depleted. So to solve that problem, they started the vitamin industry, where they say, well, you have to supplement your food with vitamins so that you're healthy. Well, normally, if the food that you're eating is nutritionally dense, you don't need any supplements. But because it's nutritionally depleted, they started this whole industry called vitamins. You see? So one thing leads to another, and that helps the doctors and the hospitals and the dentists. because the vitamins also are not good for you. So some people say, no, they're very good, but actually they're not good. They're artificial, most of them. And the food that's grown with NPK fertilizer, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, it makes things look good, but they're not nutritionally, let's say, optimal. They don't give optimal nutrition. So, therefore, people are very sick. Even young little kids, they get very sick because they're eating things that are not really, helpful. They're not full of nutrition. So then the other problem is, because of making products shelf stable so that they don't go bad before they're sold. So to do that, they put preservatives. So now you have nutritionally depleted food with additives that are usually preservatives, and then like in your breakfast cereal, you'll see, they say fortified with vitamin B12 and vitamin B3 and vitamin B2 and vitamin B6 and calcium and phosphorus and this and that. You ever see that on the box of cereal? Right? So why are they fortifying it? Because it's highly processed food in which by the time they end up with the end product, it doesn't have much nutrition in it. So they have to fortify it. So if you ever buy these different types of cold cereals, if you open it up, open the inside up and smell it, it smells like a pharmacy because of all the supplements that they put into it to make it more nutritious. So this is the problem with industrial food production. In order to make it look good and taste good, they end up, putting a lot of chemicals and all other things, preservatives. All those things are poisonous. They're not enough to kill you in one eating, but you eat that type of food for 10, 20, 30 years, your liver becomes overburdened with toxic things because the liver purifies the blood and all those chemicals go into the blood. So there's nothing better than growing your own food. You can control the water. You can make sure you have good composted earth, and you have highly nutritious vegetables and fruits and things. And if you have a cow, you feed the cow really good feed, and the cow gives very rich, nutritious milk. So with grains, vegetables, and milk, your whole food problem, health problem is solved. And then if you offer the food to Krishna, now it's something extra. Now it's prasadam. But if you don't know any of these things, then you just believe that, you need vitamins. The food is nutritionally depleted. It's grown with basically artificial fertilizer. It has preservatives in it and a lot of other potentially toxic additives. So, therefore, don't be surprised if you get sick often. And have you ever been taken to the emergency room, any of you? No? Never? Okay. Never? Tulsi, you never were taken to the toilet? Okay, that's good. Were you taken to the emergency room? Well, do you know kids that have gone to the emergency room? Yeah, a lot of kids. Huh? What'd you say? What? Okay. Yeah, outside kids who are eating meat and eating all kinds of junk, oftentimes they get very sick. Okay, so finish now.
So I'll read the question. Read The third question was read verses Bhagavad Gita 3.11 and Bhagavad Gita 3.15 and explain the importance and benefits of performing yagna.
Yagya,
Yag-
sacrifices, right?
sacrifice.
Go ahead.
So, if the Lord is pleased with your sacrifices, the demigods will be pleased.
Speak into the microphone and speak louder and slower.
So 1. If the Lord is pleased with your sacrifices, the demigods will be pleased, and then the demigods will please you.
Will what?
Please you.
Okay. How?
Like, they can give you natural gifts,
Like?
rain,
Yes. What else?
sun,
Sun, yes.
grains,
Wind,
wind, yeah.
right. Yeah. So do you need those things to grow vegetables?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And 2, when yagna is perfectly performed, there will be no scarcity of natural products.
Okay.
And
So there's a cooperation now, just like there's a cooperation between plants and human beings, right? A symbiotic relationship. In the same way, through yagya, you develop a relationship with Krishna, and Krishna is the boss of all the devas. So the devas are involved also now because they're working under Krishna. If you please Krishna, then he orders the devas to give you what you need in terms of sun, rain, wind, movement of the earth, changing of seasons, all these things. So if you're very sincere about serving Krishna, then it'll only rain at night, and during the day it's sunny. That's optimal weather for growing. And many wonderful things happen. There'll be minerals and jewels in the mountains, and then when the snow melts in the mountains, it brings down those things to the valleys where most people live, and then rivers flood, and then they fertilize. That flooding is important because it fertilizes the fields with all the minerals coming down from the mountain, right? So you don't have to buy fertilizer, but you have to understand that it's normal for rivers to flood at least once a year, right? But that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a bad thing if you build your house right on the bank of the river, right? And you build a city right on the bank of the river. That's a very bad thing because then you have to try and stop the river from flooding, and therefore you make embankments and you make all these different constructions to stop the river from flooding, you see. But that's not good. The flooding is a natural process. Okay, so because of artificial type of life, we try and to interrupt the natural cycles in nature, and that just causes one new problem after another. So if we study these different cycles, the water cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the phosphorus cycle, and so forth, then we learn to work with Krishna. And then we perform yagya, because yagya, or sacrifices, especially Harinam, Sankirtan yagya, which is recommended in the age of Kali, it develops a direct relationship with Krishna, and Krishna orders the devas to cooperate with us. If we don't do it, then the devas don't cooperate. So then it rains all day, it's cloudy and cold, and everything doesn't grow well, and there's unnecessary flooding, because rivers are going to flood. No matter what you do, they're still going to flood. And then there's hurricanes, and then there's earthquakes, and the crops don't grow so good. And so all these problems are there because people are not following the natural cycle of life. Okay, go ahead.
That's it.
That's it, okay. Anybody else do homework? Agastya's next. Speak loudly and slowly. So do we have a picture of the carbon cycle? Where is it? Come on. Go ahead, Agastya.
Okay. So the first question was explain what the carbon cycle is. So first, what is carbon? Carbon is an element that's found in the periodic table and is found in almost everything in the world. Human beings are
Okay, all organic molecules are made with carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen. Okay? So, and if you ever read about how to make compost, ideal compost is made by a ratio of 30 carbons to 1 oxygen, to 1 nitrogen. Okay? So, what has carbon in it? Leaves, wood, rocks. What has nitrogen in it? Green plants. Okay? So, and cow dung is optimal for making compost, because cow dung has 25 carbon to 1 nitrogen. It's almost at that perfect ratio. That's why cows are so important for prosperity. So when you have to understand that all natural molecules are made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Go ahead. That's why carbon is so omnipresent in nature. Go ahead.
So the carbon cycle generally takes place in 9 different places, which are in plants and trees, animals, the atmosphere, ocean life, the surface of the ocean, shells, soil, fossil fuels, and rocks and shells. So the 9 processes are called photosynthesis, decomposition, extraction, deforestation, diffusion, respiration, sedimentation.
Okay, go over that very slowly. First, photosynthesis.
Okay. So first, photosynthesis.
Yeah.
That's when plants and trees take carbon out of the air and use it to make their own food. And then there's decomposition.
They take carbon out of the air? Is that what it said? Like carbon dioxide?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not photosynthesis. What's photosynthesis?
Like when it takes it from the sun and it makes glucose.
It captures the energy of the sun.
Yeah.
Whenever you want to make something work, you need energy. You understand? So let's say the plant is like a factory. So factories run on energy. They don't just, run on by themselves. So in a factory, you either have electricity or you have fire, and fire is from oil or from gas or something. If you don't have energy, you can't do anything. Okay? So the sun is the source of energy, and the plants are natural living entities that can capture the energy of the sun and then make something called glucose, which is a simple sugar. So when you eat plants, then your body digests. It breaks the plant down to, in your stomach, it breaks it down to glucose. Now, glucose is what feeds every cell in your body. It gives energy. So if you go to a hospital and you're very sick, and they put these tubes, right? So one tube is glucose. A second tube is water, because you can't eat, let's say, because you have some problem you can't eat. So to keep you alive, they're shooting glucose directly into your bloodstream. Well, that's what digestion is. You eat something, and your body, in your stomach and intestine, breaks it down to glucose. And glucose is what gives energy to all living bodies. And the plants can make it naturally. We can't make it naturally. We have to get it from the plants. Okay, go ahead.
And then the next process is
glucose is a simple sugar. Okay, there are complex sugars. We studied this before. There's glucose, fructose, sucrose, right? If you remember all those things. Go ahead.
The next process is called decomposition.
What
That's-
is it? Decomposition.
Yeah. When living things die, they are broken down by decomposers. This decomposition process deposits carbon that is stored in the ground and rocks and soil. Over long periods of time, the decomposed organisms are subject to great heat and pressure.
Are subject to what?
Great heat and pressure.
What?
Heat and pressure.
Heat and pressure.
And they turn into fossil fuels like coal and oil.
Okay, so what's being said here is that decomposition takes place due to bacterias. You have bacterias in your body. If you didn't, you'd be very sick. Now, there are good bacterias and bad bacterias, right? But the good bacterias are called probiotic bacteria. And that's what helps you, that's one of the things that helps you digest. That is, digestion means what? Breaking down complex carbohydrates into simple sugars. A carbohydrate is basically a very elaborate sugar. And so complex carbohydrates have to be broken down into simple sugars, and the simplest sugar is glucose. And that is necessary for you to stay alive and have energy. That's part of the digestive process. Okay. So how are complex carbohydrates and proteins broken down so that you can digest it? It's by bacteria. Probiotic bacteria. Put your hand in front of your mouth. Probiotic bacteria. So, in your body you have positive bacteria and negative bacteria. So, when there are more positive bacteria, you're healthy. When there are more negative bacteria, you get sick. So, whenever you take an antibiotic, anybody here taking an antibiotic? Yes. Yes. Anybody else? Yes. 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 So when you take an antibiotic, it kills both the good and bad bacteria in your gut or your stomach and intestines. And usually the bad bacteria reproduce faster than the good bacteria. And from that point on, after you took some strong antibiotics, you'll get easily sick the rest of your life, unless you can replenish the good bacteria. That's why, you have a really bad earache, or you have you have pain in your body, so they give you an antibiotic, and the pain goes away. But then the rest of your life, you get sick easily. And sometimes you have bloating and you have constipation. So many things happen when those good bacteria become less than the bad bacteria. And then doctors usually don't talk about the probiotics. Why? Because they only make money when you're sick. They don't make money when you're healthy. So why would they tell you about things like that? They say you have to take this medicine, you have to take that medicine. Well, they're making money. Pharmaceutical companies pay them to recommend their medicines. Whereas all you really need is highly nutritious food, which includes digestive enzymes, and probiotic bacteria, and minerals and vitamins, right? Then you'll be healthy. You need these two things, especially digestive enzymes and probiotic bacteria. Anyway, we'll learn about it. So your homework for tomorrow is explain what is a digestive enzyme. Digestive, digestive, digestive enzyme, enzyme. Okay, keep putting your hand in front of your mouth, or else put your foot in your mouth. digestive enzyme. And probiotic bacteria, probiotic, probiotic bacteria, bacteric. Okay. All right, go ahead, Augustia. Keep going. So you did photosynthesis, decomposition. Microphone. What?
There's extraction.
Extraction. That means that's what your intestines do. Stomach and intestines, part of digestion. They extract out minerals and vitamins and glucose. Go ahead.
So and also you can take fossil fuels out of the ground and then burn them to create electricity. And burning the fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide back into the air.
Okay.
And next there's deforestation. Sometimes plants and trees are burned to clear an area for farming or construction. This process can involve burning down large areas of forest. So burning the plants and trees releases the stored carbon into the atmosphere.
Okay.
The next one is diffusion.
What?
The next one is diffusion.
What does that mean?
There's carbon held in seawater. As the air passes over the water, some of the carbon will be taken up and stored in the air.
Stored in the water.
First it's held in seawater, and then air passes over the water, and then the carbon will be taken up and stored in the air.
In the air?
Yeah.
Yeah, where does the carbon come from in the water? Yeah, it comes from the rivers. They're bringing down silt, which is powdered rock and other materials like wood and things like that. And it breaks down in the ocean, and then some of it filters up back into the atmosphere. So there's different things putting carbon in the atmosphere. That's what's being said here, right? Okay.
And then the next process is called respiration. Animals rely on plants for food, energy, and oxygen. Our cells require oxygen to break down the food we consume through cellular respiration. So when consumed, carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere because of cell respiration. In turn, the carbon dioxide produced from trees can be used in photosynthesis again.
Okay.
Then there's sedimentation.
Sedimentation.
When living things die, they are broken down, fall to the seafloor, and become sediment. The carbon stored in sediment may be partially dissolved in the water, or can be left in the earth, where over millions of years under great heat and pressure, decomposed organisms will become fossil fuels.
Yeah, so where does oil come from? Where does gas come from? Where does coal come from? It comes from plants that have been compressed and heated for a long period of time, and it becomes either coal, oil, or gas, right? Natural gas. So you see that the carbon cycle is essential for us. If there was no carbon cycle, we would all die. There wouldn't be anything to eat. The atmosphere would not be renewed with oxygen, and so forth. Now, did the carbon cycle come about by accident? Huh? It's a pretty complicated thing, right? How could it be accidental? And there's not only one cycle. There's, like I said, there's the carbon cycle, there's the nitrogen cycle, there's the phosphorus cycle, there's the water cycle, there's the wind cycle, many, many cycles. And they're very precise and very complicated. Have you ever heard this before? No. Do you know that your life depends on the carbon cycle? So people are trying to teach you that everything started with a big bang. There's no God. And it's all going on. And one day we'll figure out a way to be eternal. That's a bunch of nonsense. It's not true. None of that is true. You see. And almost everything they're teaching you in school is a misrepresentation. And the basis of all that misrepresentation is the Big Bang Theory. Do you learn the Big Bang Theory in school? No? What? You never heard of Big Bang? Okay. Anybody? Yeah. Yes, Tulsi. What? You learned it. Okay. Okay. Did they teach you Darwinism? Okay. And did they teach you about, I don't know, black holes? Yeah? No? Okay. Did they teach you about gender neutrality? Huh? They talk about it. Do they have co-ed bathrooms now in school? That's coming. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Next, there's rock and shell formation.
What?
Rock and shell formation.
Rock and?
Shell formation.
And what?
Shell. So, certain sea creatures like clams and oysters take carbon from the water and use it to make shells. When the animal dies, these shells fall to the seafloor and over time become rocks. Rocks will eventually break down and release carbon back into the water.
And do what? Carbon into the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lastly, there's circulation. The carbon released deep in the ocean makes the deep waters high in carbon content. This carbon-rich water is brought to the surface by ocean circulation. Ocean circulation is a pattern of water flow that brings the cold, deep water to the surface.
Okay, now you see, there's another thing here now. You have the carbon cycle, but to help it along, there's the water cycle, right? Water circulation. So water circulation is what? The colder water comes up to the surface and the warmer water goes down, is that it?
Yeah.
So did you know all these things are happening? You see, if you start learning all this, then you say, wait a minute, it's impossible that it happened by accident. It had to be planned. You can't haphazardly make things work like this. And the reason you know it's being planned and organized is because it's happening every year in a natural way. It's a natural sequence. And these are all highly complicated, let's say, processes. And they're specific. If anything interrupts them, it can cause, a lot of damage to the human race. Go ahead. That's it. Anything else? Louder.
The second question was, what is NPK fertilizer?
Yeah.
So NPK stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen promotes leaf development because of its role in the plant's coloring and chlorophyll.
What? They say what?
They say that nitrogen promotes leaf development.
Leaf development. Okay.
Because of its role in the plant's coloring and chlorophyll.
Yeah, that's why I said green plants supply nitrogen. Leaves, wood, rocks supply carbon. Okay. And then oxygen comes from the air. Go ahead.
And phosphorus and potassium have some overlapping roles. Phosphorus plays a key role in the growth of roots, blooming, and fruiting, which is why it is an essential nutrient for plants in spring. And potassium also plays a part in root growth and in stem development. And the third question was, read Bhagavad Gita 3.11 and 3.15 and explain the importance and benefits of yajna. So in Bhagavad Gita 3.15, it says that yagna is like equal to Krishna consciousness, because like there's also Harinam Sankirtan Yagna, which is meant for Kali Yuga. So yagna has good qualities, the good qualities of Krishna consciousness, and not only will you get benefits like getting good karma and getting freed from material bondage, the demigods will also be pleased and make prosperity reign. When the yagna is being performed, the corresponding demigod will be pleased and will give good gifts and benefits to the performer, so there is no scarcity.
Question: should we worship the demigods then?
No,
Why? They're the ones that are going to give us all these good things.
because they're getting it from Vishnu.
Yes. So who should we worship?
Vishnu, Krishna.
Yes.
And another benefit.
If you worship the demigod and not worship Krishna, will you get some benefits? No, you will. But those benefits will get you entangled, so you have to take birth over and over again. Whereas if you worship Krishna, you'll get the minimum benefits, but you'll also be liberated forever from the cycle of birth and death. So which is better, worship the demigods or worship Krishna? Yes. Unless you want to stay in the material world, in Kali Yuga. Go ahead.
Another benefit is that all your other activities will be purified.
Okay. Good. Anybody else? Okay. Well, go ahead, you read. Yeah. And then next, Ria. And then
The first question was
You're
explain
after
what
Ria.
carbon cycle in nature is.
Please speak loudly and slowly.
Explain what carbon cycle in nature is. The carbon cycle is the biogeochemical cycle.
Biological.
Biogeo.
Oh, biogeo? Okay.
Biogeochemical cycle by which
Bio means life. Geo means earth. It's a Latin word, biogeo. Go ahead.
biogeochemical cycle by which carbon is exchanged among the biosphere, pedosphere, geosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere of the earth. Carbon is the main component of biological compounds as well as a major component of many minerals such as limestone.
Okay.
The second question, what is NPK fertilizer?
Okay, you didn't really explain the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle. Anyway, go ahead. Let's hear the rest.
What is NPK fertilizer? The NPK fertilizer stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Nitrogen helps with leaf development and makes your lawn green.
What?
Phosphorus.
What does it do?
Huh?
What does it do?
Leaf development and makes your lawn green.
No, speak into the microphone.
Helps with leaf development and makes your lawn green.
I didn't understand. Anybody else understand what he said?
Leaf development and makes your lawn green.
Oh, makes your lawn green. Okay. And what was the first thing? Leaf development. Okay. Thank you.
Phosphorus aids in root growth. Potassium is vital for disease resistance and root development. And the
Phosphorus.
Huh?
No,
No,
what?
potassium.
What? Potassium. Root development. And what?
No. Root development and disease resistance.
Seed.
Disease.
Disease resistance. Okay.
And on a bag of NPK fertilizer, there is 16% of nitrogen, 4% of phosphorus, and 8% of potassium.
And what's the rest? 64 and 8. That's 72. What's the rest? 28%. Huh? You don't know. You have to look it up. Find out.
Number 4. Read verse Bhagavad Gita 3.11 and Bhagavad Gita 3.15 and explain the importance and benefits of performing yajna.
By the way, what's phosphorus good for? Okay, we know what nitrogen is good for, potassium. What is phosphorus good for?
Phosphorus helps in root growth.
Root growth, okay. So therefore, the The potassium is good for root development also and disease resistance, or just disease resistance? Both. Okay, got it.
Okay. Number third is read verse Bhagavad Gita 3.11 and 3.15 and explain the importance and benefits of performing yajna. In the verses, it states that demigods are the chief executives of material affairs, which means they are the one who control the supply of air, light, water, and all the benedictions for maintaining the body and soul. The pleasures and displeasures of the demigods depend on the humans. Sometimes humans do a yajna to satisfy a particular demigod, but still Lord Vishnu is worshipped as a chief beneficiary in all the yajnas. When a yajna is done perfectly, all the demigods are then satisfied, which leads to no scarcity with the natural supplies. Finally, the ultimate goal of doing a yajna is to satisfy the yajnapati,
Who is?
who is Krishna.
Yes.
Okay. The benefits of
If
performing
Krishna is satisfied, all the demigods will be satisfied. If you satisfy a demigod, it doesn't mean that you satisfied Krishna. Right? Go ahead. So many Hindus say all the gods are equal. You can worship any one of them. You get the same result. That's not true. That's not true. Is it true? You can worship any demigod. It's the same as worshiping Krishna. No. Go ahead.
The performance of yajna has many benefits, mainly leading to liberation from material bondage, and also all activities become purified when you do a yajna.
Very good. Yagya is a way to connect to Krishna, right? So the best yagya in Kali Yuga is Harinam Sankirtan. So when you chant the names of Krishna and ecstatically, there's a verse. Naham tistanti vaikunte yoginam hidayesuva yatra gayanti madbhakta yatra tistani Narada. This verse says, Lord Narayana is speaking. Let's see. Krishna is speaking. He says, Naham tistami vaikunte. I'm not present in Vaikuntha. And yoginam hridayesava. And I'm not present in the hearts of yogis. Yatra gayanti mad bhakta, yatra tistami narada. But I am in that place where my devotees are chanting my holy names, hearing my pastimes, and engaging in my service. So what does that mantra say? What does that mantra say? Yes, Ria. Yes. So he says, I'm not in Vaikuntha, I'm not in the heart of the yogis, but when my devotees are chanting and hearing Bhagavad Gita and engaging in devotional service, that's where I am. So if that's a fact, what should we be doing? Yeah. Like, were you seeing Krishna last night during the kirtan where you were dancing and chanting? Well, yeah, you were seeing him, right? You're seeing him right now. So this Harinam Sankirtan is very important. It's a way of connecting to Krishna directly. And Krishna is saying, when my devotees do these things, that's where I am. Okay. So next is Ria first. Okay, let him do it. He has the microphone. Then you're next. Go ahead.
The first question was explain what the carbon cycle is.
Yes.
Carbon is an element. The carbon cycle is the process of how carbon travels from living to non-living.
What? Carbon what? Travels?
From living to non-living things.
Yeah, carbon goes from living to non-living things. Is that it? So write this down. Life comes from life. Write this down. Yes. The scientists will try and convince you that life comes from dead chemicals. But the truth is, life comes from life. So, what did Advaita just explain? He explained that carbon comes from living things and it goes to non-living things. Is that what he said? Is that what you said? Okay. So that means, and then what's going to happen? That the non-living thing is going to become living again. Isn't it? But it all starts from something living. It doesn't start from something dead. Life comes from life. It doesn't come from dead chemicals. Go ahead. So that's another cycle, right? That's what the carbon cycle is. It starts from living things, and it goes to non-living things, and it comes back to a living thing. That's why it's a cycle. It's a renewable, write this down, renewable cycle. It's a renewable cycle, which proves that nature has been created by Krishna to be renewable, self-sufficient. Renewable means it's self-sufficient. You don't have to help it along. It's made to be renewable. Okay, go ahead.
Trees and plants.
What?
Trees and what?
What?
Trees and plants give out oxygen.
Living plants give out oxygen, right?
Which is inhaled by humans, and they breathe out carbon.
They're inhaled by humans, and humans breathe out carbon dioxide.
Yeah, dioxide. And then the second question was, find out what NPK fertilizer is.
What? NPK, fertilizer,
Fertilizer.
yeah.
Yes. NPK stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The three nutrients that compose complete fertilizers. The third question was, read Bhagavad Gita 3.11 and 3.15 and explain the benefits and importance of yajna. The demigods being pleased by yajna will also please us.
Okay, I can't hear you.
The demigods being pleased by yajna will also please us. Performance of yajna has a lot of benefits leading to a liberation from material bondage. By doing yajna, all activities will become purified as stated in the Vedas.
Very good. Ria, you're next. You're up. Give the microphone to Ria. Very good, Advaita.
The carbon cycle is a cycle by which carbon is exchanged among the biosphere, geosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and pedosphere of the Earth.
Do you know what all those spheres are?
Yeah. Biosphere is like the living...
What?
Biosphere is the living entities. Geosphere is like the Earth. Hydrosphere is the water. And atmosphere is the air.
Very good.
But I don't know what pedosphere means.
What?
I don't know what pedosphere means.
How do you spell it?
P-E-D-O.
What?
P-E-D-O-S-P-H-E-R-E.
P-E-D-O-S-P-H?
E-R-E.
P-E-D-O-S-P-H-E-R-E. Oh, pedosphere. Well, it depends what ped means. We know what sphere means, but it depends what pedo means. Probably. Okay, anyway, why don't you look it up on the dictionary?
Pedosphere is the outermost layer of the earth
Okay.
that is composed of soil and subject to soil formation processes.
Okay, so the geosphere is below that, and on the top, it's the pedosphere. Okay. That's where the carbon is being broken down. Or is it being released? Which way? What does it say? Pedosphere is where?
Is the outermost layer of the earth
Yeah.
that is composed of soil and subject to soil formation processes.
Oh, I see. Soil formation processes. That means leaves are falling down, trees are falling down, animals are dying, and it's being broken down into carbon. Okay. Go ahead.
Carbon is an important
See, if you
part-
don't ask a question, you don't learn. Right? She's reading all these things, and if there's something you don't understand, you should ask a question. Otherwise, you won't learn anything. Go ahead.
Carbon is an important part of all life, and it is required to form complex molecules like DNA and protein. This
Complex molecules like what? DNA?
DNA and protein.
DNA and proteins. Okay.
This is the carbon cycle. Carbon moves from the atmosphere to plants. Through the process of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is pulled from the air to produce food for plants. Carbon moves from plants to animals. Using the food chains, the carbon in plants move to animals that eat them. Animals that eat other animals get carbon too, and so on. Carbon moves from plants and animals to soil. When animals and plants die, their body decays and brings the carbon into the soil. Carbon moves from living things to the atmosphere. Every time you exhale, you are releasing carbon dioxide into the air. Carbon moves from fossil fuels to the air. Humans burn fossil fuels to power cars, trucks, factories, and etc. And they are released, and the carbon dioxide is released into the air. Carbon moves from the atmosphere to oceans. The bodies of water and the ocean absorb carbon from the air. The second homework was, what is NPK fertilizer?
Okay, so you're explaining what the carbon cycle is. That's pretty good.
Thank
Pretty
you.
good.
What is NPK fertilizer? NPK stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. NPK fertilizer is a complex fertilizer that has all the 3 primary nutrients required for healthy plant growth.
That's not true, but anyway, go ahead.
That's what it says on the website. Plants can't survive even without one of these nutrients.
They can't survive.
Can't. And the next homework was...
Okay, so now, second homework. What happens to a plant if it doesn't have enough nitrogen? What happens to a plant if it doesn't have enough phosphorus? And what happens to a plant that doesn't have enough potassium?
That's homework?
Huh?
That's homework?
For tomorrow, yeah. What happens to a plant that doesn't have enough nitrogen or phosphorus or potassium? There are symptoms of plants that are lacking these things, and you can recognize what the plant is lacking by those symptoms, and it's good to know what those symptoms are. Like, for example, Tulsi is a plant. What symptom indicates that Tulsi doesn't have enough nitrogen? Huh? What? No. No, the leaves start turning yellow. Right? So now you're going to have to understand what symptoms indicate if nitrogen is lacking, phosphorus is lacking, or potassium is lacking. Okay? What?
How to provide nitrogen?
Well, nitrogen comes from green plants, right? Now, if you put leaf, it's going to give carbon. But what's missing is nitrogen. So you could get some green grass, blend it in a blender with some clean water without, like distilled water, not tap water, because tap water in Sammamish has chlorine and fluorine in it, right? And then you use that to fertilize the plant with nitrogen. Or you can go to the Home Depot and buy NPK. But you could just go in your garden and get some green grass and blend it and with water and fertilize the plant with it. You see? That's why it's important to understand how to recognize nitrogen is lacking, or phosphorus or potassium. Okay? All right, go ahead. You see how all this can help you do devotional service better? Can help you understand better science? Can help you become more Krishna conscious. We think that everything depends on economics and industry. It's not true. Everything depends on the sun. Who's supplying the sunlight? Who's supplying the sunlight? Yeah. Is it a farmer? Is it a factory? No. It's Krishna. So we wouldn't be able to exist in this world if there was no sun. We would all die very quickly. Okay, go ahead.
The third homework was explain the importance and benefits of yajna using Bhagavad Gita 3.11 and Bhagavad Gita 3.15. Performing yajnas are important because without performance of yajnas...
What? What's important?
Performing yajnas are important because without the performance of yajnas, we will not be supplied with air, light, and water and other benedictions. Unless the Lord is pleased with the yajna, we will not get our needs.
Do they teach this in school, the importance of yajna? You see, they're not really educating you. They think, what's important is factories, and then the environmental people say, no, factories are bad. It puts carbon in the air, right? So then, what are you going to believe? One person is saying, factories are good, necessary to get everything we need. Another person, no, it's very bad. It's poisoning the air. It's causing global warming. But what is the truth, though? Actually, both of them are not really true. Or are they true? Well, what was the homework last week? What was our homework last week? Didn't we have to read that purport?
Of what?
No, before that then. What? No. We had to read Srimad Bhagvatam, first canto. Okay, that was previous to last week. And what was it about? Yeah, and what did it say? What did Prabhupada say? Huh? No, but he also said something else. What did he say about industries? Yeah, you don't need them. But today people say, no, you have to have factories. You have to have industries. Otherwise, how would you get all your needs, right? So if you learn how to grow your own food, it would eliminate 50% of your problem. in life. But to get your own food, you would have to depend rather on Krishna than on NPK. And you have to depend, you have to do yagya in order to have water, sun, wind, and all these things that are necessary. And then you would have to work also. You'd have to do the work. But if you do that, you become independent. If you can grow your own food and control the quality of the food, you say. Okay, so go ahead, finish.
The demigods in charge of the different supplies get pleased only when the yajna is performed correctly and will give us these natural gifts. There are also more benefits of yajnas than just getting our needs. By performing yajnas, all activities... In Bhagavad Gita 3.11, it says, by performing yajnas, all activities get purified and one's eatables get sanctified. By eating sanctified food, one's very existence becomes purified. By the purification of existence, tissues in the memory get sanctified. And when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. And all of these combined lead to Krishna consciousness.
Excellent. All right, read that again, louder and slower. Everybody listen carefully and tell everyone where that is. That's 3:11, right?
Yeah, 3.11.
3rd chapter, 11th verse.
By performing yajna, all activities get purified and one's...
1 second. So, by yajna, all activities become purified.
Yes.
Yeah?
And one's eatables get sanctified.
Then eatables, everything you eat,
Gets
everything that Krishna accepts, become sanctified. Okay?
By eating sanctified food, one's very existence becomes purified. And by the purification of existence, tissues in the memory get sanctified.
By eating sanctified food, one's existence becomes purified, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the purification of existence, tissues in the memory get sanctified. And when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. And these all combined lead to Krishna consciousness.
Okay, so this is a process. This is a process by which you can become Krishna conscious. Can anyone summarize that in simple language? What is this process? It's a process of sanctification and purification. Okay? It all starts by performing yajna. By yajna, all activities become purified. When all activities become purified, yes, you're next, 1 second. Yeah. What is next? So when all activities become purified, that means activities of yajna become purified. What is a yajna? What is a yajna? Ria. Yeah, so like for example, when you offer your food to Krishna, that's a sacrifice, right? And how do you offer it? You offer it by chanting Hare Krishna and saying prayers, right? So that means that if you do it like that, and your food now becomes prasadam, it becomes sanctified. What does sanctified mean? Yes, huh? spiritual. Sanctified, it's another Latin word. It means something that is holy or spiritual. So now your food, there's a difference between eating food that's not sanctified or not holy and eating food that is holy or sanctified. If you eat food that's not sanctified, you don't get purified. You get contaminated. What is the contamination? By eating food that's not sanctified. What is the contamination? Anybody? Sanskriti, what's the contamination? You don't know. You eat something that's not prasadam. What happens? What? Well, it's sinful, but you get contaminated. That's partially true, yeah. But your consciousness goes very down. So when it goes down, you start thinking of material things, and you forget about Krishna.
What if the person serving you isn't as bad? Like, what if he's not making it anything like material? What if he's just serving you, but he's not thinking?
Is he thinking about Krishna?
No.
Then it's bad.
But like, he's not ruining you. You know what I mean?
No. You have to understand the consciousness of the person. So you'll become like him. Right? You won't think of Krishna. So it's bad. You see. So it's very important that you eat only food that's been properly prepared and offered to Krishna. Otherwise, if the person preparing it, if they're a materialist, then you become infected with materialistic thoughts.
But what if the person who's serving you is a devotee and he's not thinking about Krishna?
Then you get contaminated. You become a devotee who's not Krishna conscious. You become like that person. That person influences you. Therefore, it's very important only to eat food that's prepared by sincere devotees. Or you become a sincere devotee and you offer your food, and you only eat that food. Like, for example, traditionally in India, Brahmins never eat food that's offered to them by other people. They only cook for themselves. Right? Like when Prabhupada came to America, he came with some dal and rice and some flour and things like that. And he cooked for himself. Why? Because he couldn't trust anybody. So someone said, "Oh, Swamiji, I want to cook for you." But, they're eating chicken. Like once the devotees went to this person's house who invited them to come in South India with Srila Prabhupada. And when they arrived there, they heard, "Bok, bok, 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 bok." Oh, those are chickens, right? So that means the people in that house are eating chickens because those are their chickens. If they're not eating the chickens, they're eating the eggs. Otherwise, why are they keeping the chickens? Right? Oftentimes when people come to the farm, they say, "Oh, you have goats? You have some chickens too?" I said, "No, I don't have any chickens." They said, "Why not? You can eat the eggs. It's vegetarian. It's not vegetarian." So, yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions about what you can eat. Okay. Finished? Okay. All right. You're next.
Read 3.15 and explain the benefits during yajna and in 3.11.
Okay.
In 3.11 and 3.15, the demigods are the administrators of our body.
What did you say?
In 3.11 and 3.15, the demigods are the administrators of our body and soul by supplying air, water, light, fire, and etc. The demigods are different parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They will be pleased when yajnas are performed by women. The chief beneficiary of all yajnas is Lord Vishnu. When Vishnu is satisfied, the demigods are satisfied. They shower blessings to every man.
Okay. You've satisfied Krishna, then you will be satisfied, right?
Yeah.
Good.
By performing yajna, all the activities and senses
What?
will
When?
get
I'm not hearing you.
by performing yajna, all the activities and senses will get purified, which will ultimately lead you to Krishna consciousness.
Very good. Okay. All right. So now, homework for tomorrow. 1. You're going to explain what digestive enzymes are. You're going to explain what else? Probiotics. What else? What? Yeah. How to recognize what nutrients are lacking in plants. What? What is that? How to recognize what nutrients are lacking in plants, right? Well, mainly nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And was there anything else? Okay. And explain what is the nitrogen cycle. Okay? You have to explain what is the nitrogen cycle. Today you explained the carbon cycle. Now you're going to explain the nitrogen cycle. And read chapter 3, verse 12. Explain who is a thief. You read chapter 3, verse 12. Explain who is a thief. Okay, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So why are we studying all these cycles? Explain. Who can explain why we're studying them? No, that's not why. Well, that's a byproduct of it, but that's not the reason why. Okay, Ria, why are we studying all these cycles in nature? Huh? Well, yes, but that's not the real reason. Arush. Okay, say that again.
So we know that all these cycles were not an accident, they were planned by Krishna.
Yes, so we understand that these cycles did not come about by accident. They're very complicated cycles. They're established by Krishna so that material nature is what?
Material nature.
What's the word? Self-sufficient. Very good. Haribol. The greatest environmentalist is who?
Krishna.
Krishna.
Here, right? Want the microphone on the other side?
So this will go
Take it on the front.
here. That, and then this will come here.
He's gone to get the monitors. He'll set it up. Because of the class, we are not able to set it.
The cord. There, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Krishna
Check. 1, 2, check. Haribol. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Jhari Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti